Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the World Championship Series America round of 16. It's time for Group D. Hopefully you've enjoyed all of our coverage so far of the first three groups. We've had 12 players already in action over the last 2 days. 6 of them have progressed through to the round of 8, and there's been a few little surprises along the way, not major ones. But now it's time for Group D. Group D for Group of Death. You hate these terminologies, don't you?
I kind of hate him, but it's true for this one.
It is true about this one. Difficult for the two players who are involved, who aren't perhaps household names. XiGua, Chinese player, 27 years old.
XiGua.
Yeah, all right, okay. You're much better than that. I mean, your Mandarin's so better. We've also got Crank in here, experienced player, been around for a while now, playing for Axiom. But the two that stand out, beyond a shadow of a doubt, are Polt. Multiple winner last year, of course. Probably only behind Tasia in terms of the amount of tournaments he won last year. And Bomber, WCS Season 2 champion of last year as well. So 2 massive names, 2 massive Terrans. This is going to be a really tricky group for the 2 outsiders.
In your terms, I think he's going to be a cracker indeed. You know, Crank, he had a very, very strong performance in a round of 32 versus Terran. So as much as he's not as a big name as the other guys, I would say if he plays the same way here, if he plays as well as he did in round 32, if he comes up with nice builds again, because surely these guys have studied what he did previously, I think he's going to have a good chance to make it out. He just needs, basically, he just needs to beat one of the Terran, sort of, to advance. You know, I think
definitely needs to beat a Terran today. That's
definitely
for sure.
Does. So we could see Crank advance.
Okay, let's look at the 4 players in a little bit more depth, give you a little bit more information around these players. Obviously, we're playing for WCS points as well this season, just like every season throughout the tournament in 2014. And currently, right now, Polt's doing a rather good job of it. He's already in 5th place, having reached the last 16 last year.
By the way, the 3 choice,
yeah,
they all have the same last name.
Yeah, that's weird.
And then poor XiGua is named Lei Wang.
Yeah. He also doesn't have 5,625 points just yet. That's a typo in that one. Apologies for that one. But he is very high up on the thing. That was last year's. Oh, that's okay. That's fine. So yeah, number 5 right now. The rest are all about 25 to 40, and that's pretty much the same for everyone out there right now. They're all got sort of between 450 and 300 points because they're all qualified through to round 16. But WCS points they're important, Todd, even at this early stage. We're seeing a lot of players already, having played in a lot of other WCS qualifying tournaments, who have got an amount of points almost equivalent to what got people into the top 16 last year. It's going to be very competitive this year. Yeah,
it's going to be more competitive than ever. There's a lot of tournaments. Everybody realized the importance of qualifying for a tournament like BlizzCon. And some players, they've already done a lot of work. Now it's for players here in the WCS, in the main thing, to score some points as well. And they need to have this on their mind a minimum, like how important. It's not only important here to win.
Because we're talking about it, but does it really matter to these guys right now?
I think so, because a lot of people say it's still early in the year. No, it's not early in the year anymore. We're in the 4th month here, and it's time to start scoring some serious points if you want to have a good chance to qualify for BlizzCon. A lot of, especially, I think Tasia...
We say BlizzCon, right? But what we're actually talking about, that hasn't been confirmed yet, by the way. So we don't actually know whether it is BlizzCon. We're just guessing. But it's definitely the global finals at some point. Whenever it might happen, if it does happen at BlizzCon, obviously it'll be fantastic. But it is really important right now. And you've still got more than Rotterdam.
Are you surprised?
No. Frankly, no, I'm not. I just thought I'd bring that in there because Kevin...
For Rod, he didn't ask for anything. I'm like taking jabs at him.
Yeah. Well, you took a little bit of a jab earlier because he was making fun of your point study from last year. But I just thought I'd throw that one in. Getting back to these 4, Polt and Bomber, absolute clear favourites. Other than Crank, do you think the Chinese player has a chance of getting out of this group, or is he absolutely destroyed from day one?
I think him already being this far is a very good and surprising thing that he was able to achieve. So on one hand, it means that he's already made it far and it's going to be tough from now. But on the other hand, he's already kind of surprised us, and he could do more. But I don't know, man. Beating any of the Terrans here, I feel it's going to be almost impossible for him. If he was to win, I think he would have the best chance against Crank. You need to be 2 guys to advance.
Okay, thank you very much. We're almost ready for our first game. Let's take a look at the bracket, though, and show you the 2 matches that are going to take place to open Group D. It's going to be Polt versus XiGua first, and then Bomber versus Crank. Crank really does have a tough opening. It's interesting as well that Polt and Bomber, between them, have over $400,000 prize money earned in their careers already.
They could buy a lot of
The
things.
total amount of prize money won by all 16 players is 1.1 million in WCS America this year. They have 400 grand between them. It's a crazy amount of money.
Yeah, it is. Compared to the other guys, it's like David versus Goliath. But in StarCraft, does not always mean everything. Winning one best-of-3 series against somebody that's very strong, if you've been practicing yourself a lot, always a very realistic scenario, but it's going to be tough for these guys.
Okay, let's talk about the first matchup, Polt versus XiGua. He has got some good form, our Chinese friend. He has got some good form. He's been playing very, very well recently. He's won a ton of online cups as well. Seems to be quite popular out in China as well in terms of winning those online cups. There's plenty of them to win. And he's done well against Max Ed and Jim and Top and obviously Tubing, who played early on in Group C as well. So on the basis of that, should we expect a similar kind of level of performance to the rest of the Chinese players, or is there something special about him?
I think, much like the others, he's been around forever. He was a Warcraft pro gamer. I actually faced him in the semifinals of WCG, I don't know what, 2007 in Italy. So he...
6.
Yeah, he already had made it very far in the tournament back then. Yeah, good job. Good job, Red Eye. So he's been around a very long time. He has a lot of experience with practice and all that. But the Chinese, they've talked about how they've been having a hard time practicing well these days because of their connection. I hope that's not going to play too big of a factor. I really feel like Max Ed looked to be a little bit out of shape today. So that's what I'm afraid for XiGua's game here. And if he's in good shape, he could do well. Okay,
he goes up against Polt. I don't think there's an awful lot that's needed to be said about him. I think anyone that's followed StarCraft over the last few years will know who he is, but let's just talk a bit about him. Last year was a terrific year for Polt. He really came out of the gate flying, picked up 3 premier tournaments along the way. Didn't feature perhaps as strongly as we thought he would do at BlizzCon, or by his standards, but has opened up in 2014 pretty much the same way as he set out, and he's definitely the king of TVP right now, ranked #1 in the world in that matchup, over $260,000 in winnings, and looking just to add as much as he possibly can in 2014. He's also the defending WCS America champion, and not only once but twice. He's the only man to get to 2 finals and win both.
You know, you could go on like this for a very long time.
I could just stand here for another 10 minutes and talk about his plaudits, but I'm just trying to make the point that this isn't just, you know, David and Goliath. This is David and Goliath's little brother. Because the reason, or David's little brother, I should say, because the other way around. I don't see how Polt can not get out of this group.
Yeah, you know, Polt is one of those guys. When I see him play against Zerg, I'm really happy that I don't play Zerg. And I think if I was a Zerg player, going into a match against him, I would like to forfeit a lot of the time, not just because my bunker got scouted.
You see him join the server, you're like, Polt, okay, GG. Just
exactly, yeah.
All right, okay. Thank you very much, Todd. We're going to take a break here at the analysis table. We're going to send you over to our commentaries team. And I can tell you what, there is a certain Terran amongst us, not including me, that is super excited for this group. He is so excited, he is like a 7-year-old on Christmas Eve. Nathanius, it's all yours.
Thank you, Paul. I could not be more excited for this group. 2 fantastic Terran players. As a Terran myself, this is what I've been looking forward to for most of the round of 16. Polt and Bomber, of course. Polt playing first. This is going to be a sick group, Claire's.
Yes, it is. I was also wrangling for these games as well. TVZ, and then potentially a TVT later on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves too much. But if that happens, I think there's going to be quite a few happy people out there.
Yeah, we haven't had any TVTs. This is the only group that's actually had 2 Terran players in it for our round of 16. Of course, we have the veto process going now for these players. And I think an interesting first veto. All of a sudden, towards the latter half of today's broadcast, we've had a lot of vetoes of Frost, which is unusual.
I'm very surprised by that. Normally when I see Polt playing on Frost against Zergs, he looks pretty comfortable. He normally does. I mean, Polt is the true staple of anything that I think of when it comes to Terran. Pushing out there, denying the creep, pushing that back, being able to drop multiple angles. And, well, I'm surprised by that to begin things.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked that we're not going to have Alterzim's Stronghold vetoed. This is going to be among the first of games. I think we've only had... No, I don't even think we've had 1 game on Alterzim's Stronghold, maybe if I wasn't paying attention, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be the first time. Daedalus Point is the starting map, so we already have a very interesting turnaround of maps. Daedalus Point, Polar Knight, and Alterzim's Stronghold. Lots of people have been vetoing Daedalus Point, especially versus Zergs. It's one of the most heavily vetoed maps in the pool. Polar Knight, I guess, has kind of been back and forth on the veto wheel, but pretty much everybody has vetoed Alterzim's Stronghold.
Yeah, it's not been as common as other ones, especially as Frost, that just randomly disappears from the very beginning. I'm going to assume that it was Polt's veto first.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was Polt's veto first, so he gets rid of that. So curious to see, really understand why that is the case, but let's get to this guy, because this is our two-time WCS America champion. This is the defending champion of WCS America. He is here in the round of 16. He is looking to move on not only to the round of 8, but he's looking for a third title. Nothing but first place for this guy matters. He wants that top spot.
Yeah, he's not only a great player, he's got great sportsmanship. He's known as Captain America for our region for a reason. Excellent English. He's always very enthusiastic about these games, especially in his interviews. And his TVZ, I mean, Todd said it perfectly. If you were a Zerg player, Polt is one of the last people you want to play. He's like the doctor writing a thesis on TVZ every time we see him playing WCS America, setting trends with some of his creative openings. We've seen him actually pioneer in 2013 the fast Viking play in this matchup just to kill overlords, and he is all around. He has the perfect Terran versus Zerg, I would say, from majority of Terrans we see play lately.
Yeah, it's not even just TVZ, it's TVP as well. We saw him in Intel Extreme Master Clone do amazingly, but then we have arguably the challenger here in this match, at least, XiGua, who, much to my surprise, only gained 25 points. We saw the overlay before. It's like, he's only got 25 points in 2013 in WCS. I was like, really? Had to actually double check it to make sure, because XiGua, it feels like he's been around forever as one of the strongest Chinese players, right up there, but only gaining 25 points last year, that's not the benchmark that he would set himself. He would always want more. I mean, he's already gained more than that being in this round of 16 so far this year.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. He is the underdog of this whole group. There's so much talent here. Crank and Bomber, just in another match you can't help but be incredibly excited for. But for this series to start on Daedalus Point, I already like that. This isn't going to be like any other TVZ that you've probably seen lately. These are maps that get vetoed a lot in these matchups. We saw Neeb actually play a fantastic TVZ yesterday against Revival on this map. And from Polt, I don't expect anything less than completely standard. He is probably, it's weird to say, his overall playstyle, probably one of the most predictable Terran versus Zerg. He almost never goes mech any matchup, loves to play bio, and he is just all about being 100% aware of everything as it's happening. And we're loading into this first map. I couldn't be more excited.
Oh, not gonna. I mean, Group D for me here is the highlight of the round of 16. And to finish off our round of 16 with it is going to be an absolute treat. We start things with Polt and XiGua. Let's get into it. Game number 1 between these two players looking to advance onto the winner's game. Will it be Polt? Will it be XiGua? As we jump into Daedalus Point. Spawning up to the top left, our blue Terran here, representing CM Storm. It is Polt.
The Captain America himself up against the red Zerg player, the underdog in this group of death. From Invictus Gaming, it is XiGua. Man, if you're XiGua, you get a little bit of time. Of course, everybody gets to see these groups a week or so in advance. You get to at least know who you have to play against. How do you prepare for somebody like Polt? I guess you could say that on this map, maybe people would say it's not that bad for being aggressive with the way the natural's laid out, but I mean, you can't just try to kill Polt early. It almost never works.
Yeah. I mean, as you asked that question, the instant thought that came to my head was like all-ins. But even then, you're right. It's so difficult to make it work against this guy because he is so well defensively set up, and he's going to spot it as well. He normally will end up spot that gas goes down. No doubt for that Reaper to end up jumping on in there if something like that were to happen. So XiGua, it's bizarre to say this, but against a player like Polt, who's so great in the mid game and the late game, I feel like his best option might be just play it out. Play it out.
Yeah. Especially considering that if XiGua's supply past 8 minutes somehow gets above Polt's, we can almost call Polt behind. And then when Polt is behind, he just turns it up to a whole other level. He becomes almost a different player if he's behind in a game of StarCraft. It's quite scary, the level of comebacks that he's been able to make all throughout his career, especially towards the end of 2013. But pretty standard openings this game. And he will be opening Reaper, as you said. I think maybe one of the reasons why you would veto Frost, and I still think you can open Reaper on a very standard map like Frost, but some Terrans like to go Command Center first. Maybe Polt wants to just play all these maps that are good for Reapers, and weirdly enough, I think you technically can on Alter Zim. There's a lot of space for it. As a bigger map, I don't know, some of the decisions that have been made even before this series has started are still kind of chewing at me.
And it's important to note here when we go into this round of 16 game, the first one of Group D, is that XiGua, during the round of 32, he didn't have to play any Terrans. All he had to do was play PVZ, that ZVP, and that's all he had to play. So it's a real change-up in pace that we're going to see from him, or have to bring to the table at least, to deal with a player like Polt. At least he sees the Reaper heading across as well as the Command Center, so he knows that, it's a normal start here for Polt.
Yeah, and I don't think this is anything that, if you study Polt, you know pretty much every matchup, every map, he will open Reaper. It's predictable, but due to just the way that Polt plays, it's always solid. There's no, oh, I can punish the fact that he's opening up Reaper. And Polt gets in with his Reaper. He sees, okay, not able to really pick up too much at the start of this game just yet, but he does spot that gas. And you know what? One drone kill start off is not that bad at all.
Yeah, not too bad. Even any lings he could get, but good control here by XiGua so far. Keeping those alive is very, very important. Don't want to be losing any of those. You don't want to have to replenish them. As Polt now gets along with his second Reaper. Third Reaper is even on the way here. So a lot of annoyance from 3 Reapers in general.
Yeah, this is one trend that Polt seems to be following. I don't believe it was a trend that he set surprisingly in this matchup, but 3 Reaper is incredibly popular. And with this gas opening, one of the common side effects of opening up with this gas is you have a little bit less normal mineral income. You can't always get to 4 queens that fast, and if you can't do that, and these Reapers chew apart your first queen, he's already got it down to half health. He's actually sending it back into his base because he does not want those Reapers to kill it. This is where not having that many queens, these Reapers can do a ton of damage before that speed is complete.
Second queen pops just in the nick of time to actually fend this off. 2 queens is always going to be better than 1 at that defense, as we have now a few barracks being added on after the 3rd command center actually started up. So big focus of macro here for Polt, as he has been spotted by XiGua. So once again, at least he knows what's going on.
Yeah, this is very interesting by Polt, actually. He started up the 2 additional barracks before he even begun his Hellion production. So it could just be from the focus being spent on the Reapers, but he'll have his Marine production actually much faster than you typically would for most 3 command center based openings in the Terran versus Zerg matchup. And this gives him an opportunity, if he wanted to put out a lot of Marines, I imagine he'd want to get add-ons with the gas that he has saved up. But this will allow him to go for a very fast Marine attack follow-up after the Hellions, maybe even before Medivacs. It's just a little bit faster of a follow-up attack than usual, I think.
That could catch him off guard, really could. Especially if he just couples up these Hellions as well as the Reapers together, starts poking out, maybe denying a little bit of creep, doing what he can. Of course, XiGua is going to start walling this off a little bit, but it can be oftentimes annoying to wall off this ramp, so it does take a little bit more than that. It's not going to be the most amazing walls.
His creep tumors, I think, actually blocked him from putting those evolution chambers next to each other. Yeah. So what XiGua is doing is pretty much par for the course. He's taking his 3rd base, double evolution chamber, lair. This doesn't look like he wants to be aggressive, and because of this, I don't think it's as big of a deal, but the build that Polt has done allows him to get his production fast enough that if XiGua did try to do any of those potential aggressive moves that we'd mentioned earlier, Polt's production will be set up so fast, he's already putting out 5 Marines at a time. Normally that Terran production doesn't kick in closer to 10 minutes, but Polt is going to be set up in a position that allows him to defend if he needs to. And with this scan, sees 2 evolution chambers that are upgrading and a lair on the way. He knows he doesn't have to worry about any type of assault coming soon.
Yeah, very, very good scan, gotta say. To actually just scan there and be able to spot all of that and know that even that his opponent's going to be actually morphing in a layer. That position was nice. And Polt now is pressuring. Polt is moving out, looking to maybe do a little bit of damage over at that 3rd base, as there were already drones transferred over there. These Hellions are going to go to town. There's really not a lot, too much DPS, but the Queens do come along for the defense.
Yeah, having to move those Queens around, not something that you particularly want to do. You had to actually take one off of his natural expansion. So the Spire starts, and here, as these engineering bays are underway for Polt, is the real weakness of any build that gets you fast tech, economy, and this army production, is you have lower upgrades. So the 1-1 will be done very soon, past halfway now for XiGua, whereas it hasn't even started for Polt. These Zerglings blocking that 3rd command center from landing. He's going to pull those Hellions all the way back. He'll run out the Marines. It's just, he doesn't have to worry about being hit with a run by, because we can see there's no other Zerglings hidden there. But it's a little bit annoying for Polt. And he needs to make something happen with these units. Otherwise, usually where Terrans are ahead in upgrades, you can fall behind.
Killing off a few of those creep tumors in the middle of the map's always nice, but there are 2 queens still at the front there for a total of 5 across the entire map to continue pushing it across. So not the most amazingly contained creep, but I mean, look at this push up to the top as well as these Hellions. This is getting a little bit scarier for XiGua, who has indeed started Banelings, but Centrifugal Hooks is by no means finished.
Yeah, he has 5 Banelings on the way. These Marines have stim. He actually kills the Banelings before they finish morphing. He doesn't. He finishes just 1 Baneling. This is a dangerous situation. First of all, he's crazy over stim. His Marines are at half health. If 1 Baneling detonates, pretty much all these Marines are dead. But it doesn't. It hits the Hellions.
Wow.
And Polt, he just has too much.
Oh my! Wow. GG and. All right, Nathanius, you are a prophet. Of all things, you are a prophet, and I tell you why, because you mentioned it at the very beginning, those 2 barracks, just a little bit quicker than that Hellion production. It comes back, and we see this Marine move out, and he's just like, hi, sup? Oh, I have quite a few Marines.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do damage to you.
You know, if you're watching this, if you're a Terran player in the Diamond or Master League, this is a sick build to use on ladder. You have so much production in case you get attacked early, and if you don't, he just killed him. He walked right up to him. He had 5 Banelings on the way, and you could almost argue it was a little, you know, it comes down to a little bit of luck to be able to catch those Banelings morphing like that, the way that Polt did. As a Zerg, you want to try to have a few prepared, but that was just being active with the Hellions, being active with the Reapers. It makes having everything perfectly set in stone that much more difficult for the Zerg, and that's a really cool build by Polt.
That was as easy as 1, 2, 3, man. He just walked over there and killed him. As simple as that. XiGua really got blindsided, completely smacked around the head by a 2x4. And now Polar Knight is our second map. This is, so far, looking pretty standard for Polt. Looking pretty simple.
Yeah, he has to watch out, because if Polt takes this game, that's being smacked by the shield of Captain America, as he's fully prepared, and I think many people are predicting him to get out of this group. XiGua, how do you change up your build against that? It's almost like you have to not play standard to have enough units to deal with an early attack like that. Even with the Zerglings at the 3rd base, it still looked like he was moving out at a normal time. There wasn't anything crazy, but Polar Knight is one of those maps that 3rd base is a bit more far away from the natural area, so maybe aggressive play can work. I don't know. We're loaded into the map. We're going to find out as Polt now goes into game number 2 versus XiGua.
It's going to be good. It is going to be good. Polt so far looking on point. And, hey, it's a Terran, man. You take it away, thanks.
All right, well, this is our blue Terran player spawning in the bottom position of Polar Knight. Playing for CM Storm, it is Polt.
I knew you'd enjoy that.
Yeah, well, I'm enjoying seeing his play already. You know, we talk about him revolutionizing this matchup. He is continuing to do that.
Up to the north position here as our red Zerg. Currently the contender here in this matchup. Can he tie it up 1-1? It is XiGua.
Man, as XiGua, what do you say to a build like that?
The crazy thing about it all is it's like a really subtle difference, right? So
yeah.
I guess morph your Banelings in a little bit further away. It's a difficult, earlier Baneling nest.
Yeah, the thing is, as a Zerg player against a 3 command center Terran, you're expecting the push to come around, 11 or so minutes when the Terran moves out, because that's when they have their medevacs, when one is on the way. Speaking as a Terran player, most of these 3 command center builds, you start your barracks as your factory finishes the 5th and 6th Hellion. You'd move that off, build your reactor, add your 2 barracks, and then you've already got steam going for a little bit. And it's just like it just pans out a little bit later so that you can maybe have a faster wall up with those minerals, or your Hellions a little bit faster. So it's a weird small trade that Polt makes. And for XiGua, I think trying to be, it's weird to say be more aware of that, but if those Banelings are done a little bit sooner, you have a few more Lings out, it's about having that map awareness and realizing that this attack is actually coming. I don't know if his Overlord Scout really revealed that enough information for him to know it could come that fast.
And even then, I mean, with Banelings on creep, technically, yes, they are quite fast, but without centrifugal hooks as well, against a player like Polt, who would be able to split. I mean, we saw no requirement for him to really split during that, so there was still another trick up Polt's sleeve that he could have incorporated into that push that would have made it even more deadly. So, again, stuck with XiGua in game number 1, but can he find a way out of it here in game number 2, as he's found himself a standard good go-to opener, and he's just going to have to greet these Reapers in just a little bit.
Yeah, XiGua's opening very similar to the last game. Pool, then his gas. He doesn't have the fastest Zergling speed, but he has it at a reasonable enough time that he has speed to defend. I don't know exactly if he doesn't want to get aggressive against Polt with early Zergling speed. He knows that Polt isn't going to do any type of build that would require you to need Zergling speed to defend, I feel, aside from the Reapers and Hellions. Unless either he's scared of the Reaper Hellion doing damage, or I just feel like it's not 100% necessary if he's not going to get aggressive.
Here comes a little poke in, and the Zerglings actually doing the little wraparound dance. Can they do anything? Oh, close, no cigar, as he does jump on out of there. So keeping that Reaper alive of the utmost importance. Losing that at the very beginning here would be a catastrophe for Polt.
Yeah. I always say there's pretty much no worse thing that can happen to you in the beginning, short of having your command center canceled by Zergling run by, is losing those Reapers. They are invaluable to hold that map control. He has the third one on the way once again. I almost wouldn't be surprised if Polt did like the same thing as the last game, but yeah, he doesn't really need a reason to change it up. We didn't even have to see what he would do in the mid-game stage.
Oh, getting a bit ambitious there was Polt. XiGua was able to swap those targets effectively and deal with it from then on. And for now, adding on that, with that second command center going down as well, this is a good start with them for the 3 command centers.
Yeah, there's, like I said, most Terran players against Zerg, unless you're the kind of player that wants to open up with, maybe like a really fast Banshee, and then go into mech out of that or something like a little Neeb-esque actually that we saw yesterday. It's all about getting that third command center up, and then if you do take a bit of damage, you can kind of dance around. And here we see Polt once again, as that reactor of his is finishing back home. The Reapers are still poking these Zerglings. It's nothing quite crazy. He hasn't gotten really many drone kills, just the one. But this barracks timing again is very fast, second and third, and he delays his Hellions by a little bit for it. But as long as you have your Reapers alive, not having Hellions isn't the biggest deal, because you can still see an attack coming.
Speed just finished up though, so those Reapers have to really get out of there. You can't stick around for all that long. They should be able to get away, I think, just jumping back up into the main.
Just 5 lings, not a huge deal.
So good stuff, gets away. And even if those lings want to continue on, the Hellions are there to be able to push it away anyway. So, wait. What in terms of the 2 barracks timings were we seeing? Was it a bit more standard, or was it similar to the first game?
No, he got it the same time as the first game, and he actually, before he gets stim, he adds on the reactors for those barracks. He wants the marine production as fast as possible. And I'm trying to keep my eyes on XiGua's overlords. I want to know when exactly he sees the extra barracks planning, because he's seen one of the extra barracks that were mailed in the main base, and maybe that gives him an inkling as to, okay, maybe this is a bit earlier than I expected. He's certainly not getting fast engineering bays, and you can see Polt now actually even just has 4 Hellions. His 5th and 6th Hellions are even delayed a little bit. It's a subtle thing that is not a big deal unless you're being attacked by very fast speedlings that those barracks wouldn't help against.
Bailing Nest a little bit earlier, as the layer was almost done before that Bailing Nest went in the first game. So we do see XiGua adapting a little bit to prior engagements, but at the same time now, really not doing anything with that poke, and his 3rd is under pressure as well. So. But the Queens should be able to push that away. So right now, I do like the adaptation we're seeing from XiGua, but everything's been spotted by Polt.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, XiGua knows that based on the last game, it was a couple of tiny things that really could have allowed him to survive that. So there's no need to actually change up his build. Both players are, for all intents and purposes, doing the same exact thing. Sans the Reaper being killed at the beginning of the game and not being able to, get too much damage done with the additional Reaper. So Polt will get pushed away. And I don't think he's seen anything crazy. He knows that the Bailing Nest is being built, but I mean, it's Terran versus Zerg. You kind of need that versus any type of bio setup. So what I'm mostly looking at is, if Polt decides to push out again, of course, XiGua will need to have a couple of Banelings. That nest is done, hasn't built any in preparation. He's still just trying to drone up at this point.
Yeah, lots of drones on the way. 10 added on to the current 65, well, 63 that we had. So really rocketing up with that. Spire goes down a little bit later than first game. And even Pneumatized Carapace to really keep an eye on things. Wow, actually that Spire's in a really interesting spot on the front of the wall at the natural. But I suppose if Polt even breached that by the time anyway, he would pretty much be dead. So
yeah, it's. I guess if Polt can't really get there as easily. I mean, you just think about where Polt would scan. Usually you look at either the main base, and then sometimes the Zerg will hide it in the natural, but he should still see it if he scans the natural. It's just not in the most obvious place. It's not the place where your eyeballs would immediately drift to when you look at a Zerg base.
And he might even start dropping creep. Oh, wow. Catching some free Banelings. That's a nice pickup there. It looked as if they were going around to the 3rd to put on some pressure, but he caught those nicely.
And there's, it's the inherent risk of running banelings around to attack a third base. And now Polt's bringing once again this attack. He doesn't have the medivacs here. He's stemmed quite a bit, just like last time. The banelings are morphing, and XiGua, he won't be completely caught with his pants down this time. He does have a couple banelings, but now the 2 medivacs are out, and he's going to pick up. The third base gets harassed a little bit, not too bad. But XiGua, well, he didn't die this time, so anything's an improvement based to that.
Yeah, I was scared that it was just going to happen again, and then poor XiGua would have been down and out, but does hold on. So having that Baneling Nest a little bit earlier was nice, although the morph in, he actually morphed in a few more than he was in the previous game. So that's certainly something to consider here. 10 more are morphing in, plus 2 weapons have started. His upgrade's not doing too badly. Polt's 1-1 in comparison to the position it was in previous game is also a little bit quicker as well. So slight changes from both of them here. Just to speed things up, really, on either side.
I think what this really does is it just prevents XiGua from having to worry about like a 2-2 timing. His 2-2 won't be fast enough that he can do much with it, but he's not going to have to worry about being at a disadvantage against Polt until, 3-3 comes into play. And one other thing that Polt's been doing very well, he hasn't killed XiGua, but look at this creep spread. He comes forward, snipes a couple tumors, steps back, and XiGua, he can't even get past his own third base with this creep.
Yeah, he's dancing himself, and he hasn't started centrifugal hooks during all of this as well. That's a little bit of a concern to me, as he will need that eventually against a player like Polt. I mean, you see Polt, this is what he does in almost every single matchup. He splits up 2 big chunks of his army and constantly pokes left and right, and it makes you go crazy in the end.
Yeah, that's the best way to play TVZ. And these Banelings and Zerglings come off creep, but, they don't have centrifugal hooks. There's no creep. These Banelings have absolutely... They don't belong in this fight. They're not going to get anything done. I mean, it would take a huge error of Polt to take slow Baneling hits off creep, and he's just setting himself up for everything else. We're seeing a couple Hellbats get mixed in, single Marauder production. The second factory, I assume, will be for Thors, and a lot of Terran players, especially in the Korean scene, have started doing this. They mix Hellbats, Thors for that mid-game, even get Blue Flame to help kill Zerglings faster.
Yeah, very nice. Really buffers that quite well. And that 4th base, I don't think it's going to go up anytime. I feel that XiGua should probably knock down the ice behind his base and then try and take that one. It'll be much easier to defend, but does he even have room to actually break down those rocks with Polt just constantly pressuring anyway? He needs his army at the front. He tries to push back this left-hand side, but the Marines do a great job against this army whilst he's pressuring on at the 3rd base as well. That was only half of his army on the left-hand side. Those defeated almost the entire army.
Those Banelings couldn't even get close. Half of them just blew up on a Marauder. Polt still has a huge number of Marines. He's killing most of the Mutalisks. He's going to be able to overpower that, but there's still over 16 Marines in his 3rd base. I mean, I guess what would have been his 3rd base. Thor in production now. 2-2 is going to finish, or at least +2 attack is now done for XiGua, but at this point in the game, is it enough? Polt has that 3rd base locked down, and he doesn't necessarily even need to go for this 4th. He's starting the command center up, but he really couldn't be in a better position at this point.
XiGua needs to stabilize. He needs economy. At least his 4th, or pseudo-4th, is now up and running, gathering himself a bit of economy. But Blue Flame now on the way for Polt. XiGua trying to amass a few Mutalisks where he can. How many Banelings does he have? He only has 8 to his name against 44 Marines. Ugh. This is going to be a difficult task ahead for our Chinese Zerg.
Yeah, with Polt adding on additional production, he's 3rd base saturated. He doesn't even need to move out the 4th just yet. He still had a little bit of money left in each of his bases. He's still going to continue to bring this pressure. There's no creep. He can kite back as much as he wants against these Banelings, and he does. The Hellbats sit up front, take most of the damage. The majority of those Banelings are cleaned up. There's just 2 remaining on the map, and once those are gone, this is more than enough Marines to kill everything else that's left on the map. So many medevacs to heal them. XiGua's pushed back. This is his only fresh base left that's really mining with tons of resources, and he can focus this down. He can kill the Mutalisks. He can kill whatever he wants because he's won this game. GG, Polt, to nobody's surprise, just completely dominated that match.
Surgical, completely surgical. Just goes in, does the business, gets out. Very, very clean, very, very methodical there from Polt. XiGua showed, resilience trying to hold on against it, but Polt's in the class of his own. He's the champion currently. He's looking to be right back up there.
Yeah, and it's definitely shown that he has made some level of preparation. I haven't seen this Terran versus Zerg, this barracks timing he's pulled out from anybody really. And Polt has always been willing to delay his upgrades a little bit to have the perfect build that is safe, yet has an option for aggression. And he certainly earned his way to that winner's match. without having to show anything crazy. And I don't think there's any other way you prepare. I mean, he's not going to have to play another Zerg anyway unless he drops in the winners and XiGua can pick up the losers.
No, I think you make a great assessment of it in terms of, yes, it is still safe, but also the applied pressure through there is very, very strong. And I still, despite us, praising Polt for his play, we have to go back and commend XiGua for his adaptation in one game's time to be able to initially hold that push off that just killed him straight up in the first game.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say that Polt is just another class, but XiGua, you got to imagine how often do you see something like that?
Yeah.
He was willing to play completely straight up standard, which takes a little bit of bravery in and of itself. You want to play the macro game versus Polt because he's impossible to kill in the early game, and it was hard fought. But XiGua as the underdog, he needs to pull something else out if he wants to be able to get out of this group.
Yeah, and what a group we have. Group D, lots more awesome games coming very, very soon here from the World Championship Series America. But now it's over to Paul.
Thank you very much, Calaris. Back here with Todd to discuss the game. And Polt was out of here like a rocket. He was, he sat down, he plugged in, he played his 2 games, he got back up, he packed his stuff, and we've just seen him walk out of the studio.
With his stuff packed
With his stuff packed already, with his jacket back on.
Apparently,
and ready
Captain
for
America is also Flash Gordon.
Yep. He absolutely is. Incredible. But a bit like we said about Tasia really earlier on, it was just another day at the office for Tasia in Group C. Similarly, seemed like that for Polt in that game as well. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from XiGua because he kind of put up a better fight in map 2, but it was almost a foregone conclusion that Polt would win that match.
I think that's just basically Polt being too good because XiGua earlier, he was laddering on Europe. He was playing against some very good players. He played TLO, Cass, played a whole bunch of guys, both Maxen and XiGua, and they were doing pretty well. I mean, they lost some games, they won some, but overall, they weren't doing too bad. And now, they played there against Tasia and Polt, and it just looked hopeless for them. So these guys right now, they're on another level. Polt's, I said Crank was going to do well versus Terran, but at this point, I'm feeling very scared for him, and I feel like the only guy that could beat Polt in this group is Bomber.
Rain recently said and remarked that he felt that Terran was about to dominate. And when you've got players like Polt, Tasia, Bomber in action as they have been over the last 24 hours, it's not hard to see why that might be the case in the coming months.
Yeah, we're still in the round of 16. If Protoss has won 4 out of 4 Premier tournaments this year, we're going to have to wait for that. I think a lot of players take the whining too far, especially after losses. I feel like any complaining that is done after a loss or after a lot of losses is not really valid, and that goes even for me because I'm one big complainer when I'm at home and laddering.
No way!
So I think we're going to have to wait and see. I think Terran, with the new patch, is definitely doing better than it was before. But they haven't won a tournament yet, so we're going to have to wait.
Just in terms of TVP, it seems a much more balanced matchup now than it perhaps was before. Let's talk a little bit about XiGua as well. He wasn't able to qualify for Season 2 the first time he tried to get into WCS America. Last season, Season 3, was in Challenger League. This season, he's made round of 16. That's great progress, right, over 3 seasons?
Yeah, it is. I feel like there's a lot of players like XiGua who are very good, but who need to get fortunate to make it a little bit further each season. And maybe he finally found his fortune. Maybe all his hard work finally paid off. Because all of these players, they are guys that are pro gamers. They spend all their time practicing and all that. So why wouldn't they be able to make it? So when they eventually do it, it's usually because of all the hard work they put in before. Okay,
thank you very much. We're going to take a quick break, and then we come back. We'll have our second match from Group D. Let's see whether our underdog can perform a little bit better than the first game that we've seen today, because when we come back, it'll be Axiom's Crank who will go head-to-head with the WCS Season 2 Global Champion, Bomber.